guys, welcome back to my critical vlog. My name is Ivy Lam, and today I will be explaining the theories of the theorist C. Wright Mills and how it relates to understanding my personal experience at my workplace. So personally, I feel like a lot of individuals are actually able to connect to Mills' theory regardless of like what you do as a job. His theory does align to a lot to many different people's experiences, and I feel like it can help really relate as it looks into the interplay between individuals and how society you must see two things in order to understand experiences. So I wanted to take some time to discuss a few important sociological concepts developed by C. Wright Mills. The first being the sociological imagination and how it relates to my own experience of status panic, rationalization, and alienation in the workplace. So I work as a dental receptionist. My day-to-day role consists of me being on the phone, talking a lot, and also dealing with insurances and ensuring a smooth transactional process and making sure people are happy with their dental results. This might seem very simple. Like, you guys might think, oh, she has such an easy job. Like, it's not that. It's actually way more complicated than it seems. Like, I don't just sit there and just do nothing all day. But this process is to make sure that people are happy with their dental results. But through Mills' lens, we can see how individual experiences often reflect much broader social forces. So by understanding the interplay of the best of both worlds, it will help everyone to understand our experiences in society better. Unlike Parsons' theory of functionalism, as he kind of just depicts it in a way where everything is functional. He doesn't look at like the bigger picture. So that's why I chose C. Wright Mills, because I feel like he definitely explains it really well, and that we can't just assume that society is perfect and that everything is functional, because that is not the case. There's definitely flaws, so it's not like society is always in a state of like, it can't, if everything was perfect, then we would be stuck in a state of equilibrium, and we do not want that. So we need to see stuff from a second lens in order to understand better. So C. Wright Mills was 100% a conflict theorist and a critical theorist, as he emphasized that conflict dominates society. Conflict happens due to the unequal distribution of power, resources, and opportunities in society. Mills argued that social structures are built on competing interests between different groups. So by different groups, he's talking about the elite groups and also the working class. So the elite groups, their values are always like at the top compared to the working class. So a lot of times people feel like they have to abide by certain rules, certain expectations, because it's set out by the elites to follow a certain protocol, I would say. And this creates tension when the interests of these groups clash. So Mills believed that understanding these conflicts requires the sociological imagination. So some of you guys may ask, what is this? Like, what is a sociological imagination? Basically, it's the ability to see how personal troubles like workplace dissatisfaction, such as in my position, I definitely felt this way, is linked to larger public issues such as bureaucratic inefficiency and economic disparity. By identifying these connections, we can better understand why conflict emerges and how it shapes our individual and collective experiences. It's also very important for understanding consumerism and how we are a product of society, regardless if we say, oh, I'm not a product of society. Yes, we are. We all are. We just maybe don't realize it. And it also helps understanding dehumanization and capitalism. It just basically helps us to see how our personal choices and experience are shaped by larger social forces. So the central tenets of Mill's sociological imagination is the differentiating between personal troubles and public issues, understanding the interplay between history and how social structure comes into play, and recognizing how individual experience are shaped by larger systemic forces such as economic policies, political decisions, and cultural norms, and how often many of the things that we believe in, it's because it's set out as a norm. So I will be focusing on rationalization and alienation in the workplace relating to my role as a dental receptionist. I manage appointments, I coordinate with insurance companies, and create a welcoming environment for patients. But beyond these administrative duties lies a deeper reality of stress and powerlessness. I honestly don't care about people's insurance. I don't care. Like, I'm always calling people to being like, hey, you're due for a checkup and cleaning. it might seem like, yeah, I'm like such an easy job and all of that thing, but thing is like I'm just doing it because I have to, not because I want to. And I'm just there because I can't afford to quit my job, as I'm a full-time student just trying to save up for tuition. And just I don't feel like I have the right to go up to my boss and be like, hey, I don't want to do this. I do it because, like I said, I'm a product of consumerism. So basically, as mentioned by our textbook on page 47, Douglas Mann explains how C. Wright Mills talks about the three forms of power being coercion, authority, and the main being manipulation. So manipulation is seen to be the main form of power between coercion and authority by which power is exercised. Mills agrees with Weber that society is often stuck in the iron cage of bureaucratic society, which I also agree. We do a lot of the things we don't want to. We just do it because we have to. Some people are just afraid to lose jobs, and I'm one of those people. So the iron cage describes how society becomes trapped by rigid rule-based systems focused on controlling us, often at the cost of individual freedom, creativity, and human connection. I feel this very much at work, often having to follow a certain routine, having to prioritize customers no matter how mad I am, because often, like, a lot of people, I work in, like, a suburban, like, dental area, so I work in the Southwest, and oftentimes, patients will yell at me. They will be like, oh, you're so stupid, like, you don't know anything, like, why are prices so high with dental treatment, acting like it's my fault, but because of my role at work, I have to say, oh, I'm sorry, like, customer service is at the top. Even after they've cussed me out and everything, I just have to accept it. That most often people don't realize that I'm doing them the favor to check for the insurance. They kind of just see me as, like, just someone there who doesn't know anything, when in reality, I've given them the information and they just don't want to understand me. And basically, I often having to prioritize customers no matter how mad I am, like I mentioned, especially that customers expect me to know everything about the insurance when really I'm doing them a favor. But I cannot afford to go to my boss, so I suffer in silence with the feeling of being oppressed. And yes, I do recognize that I'm being oppressed and I'm being manipulated by society, but there's nothing I really can do because it's just the same cycle. Like, every dental office that I've ever worked at, I get yelled at by patients. It's not because I don't know how to do my job. It's because people aren't willing to understand that I'm just kind of just there to help them. So basically, this often leads to me feeling of status panic. As mentioned in the lecture, status panic is a term coined by C. Wright Mills, which shows how when I'm at work, I'm acting a certain way due to how society wants me to. Many individuals can feel oppressed, but if they lack the sociological imagination of understanding how social structures and individuals come into interplay, then they won't be able to link why they are feeling this way. So I often feel this way when I'm trying to sell whitening kits, like the ones where they make your teeth white. I'm trying to sell these products not because I care so much about their teeth, but because I have to. I feel obligated to, because if I don't sell it, then my boss will be like, oh, you're not working as hard as you want, which makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, even though I've tried as much. And take this in, these whitening kits go for $125 on the market. So it is quite expensive just for a 4 set of aligners. So I often get this feeling of feeling less than when I don't sell any whitening kits compared to when I do, making me feel like I'm so, like, below my coworkers who are selling way more than me. And because I'm in school full time, I often don't work every single day like my coworkers do, which leads me to feeling like I have no power. I just have to, like, abide by these rules and comply because I'm there to work. I'm trying my best to act like I care, when in reality, some days I'm just so tired. I don't even want to talk to customers, but as my job, I'm forced to talk to people. So this makes me feel like I have to work twice as hard. This kind of rationalization creates a sense of alienation, a disconnect from the meaningful relational side of my job. Overall, I know I'm being manipulated at my job, but yet I'm forced to follow by the rules in order to sell my personality, which becomes part of the production within social structures. As mentioned on page 48 in the textbooks, The results of alienation is what makes manipulation a key aspect of human contact. Not only am I alienated from myself, but also from the customers that I am trying so hard to sell the products to, or when I beg people to come for checkup and cleaning. There are days when I'm texting people nonstop. Like, I'm texting them from morning, afternoon. I call them just to tell them they're due for checkup and cleaning because I know it's annoying, but I have to do that. I don't have a choice, like I mentioned. And then next is that this is true from the way I promote the items I post on social media, or having a customer service voice act even when I don't feel like it. It's quite hard to be authentic at work when we abide the power elites who make the key decisions that change the structural conditions in which we live, which is mentioned on page 49 in the textbook. So some of you may ask, oh, why did I choose the Mills theory? So I chose this theory because I believe that it offers such a perfect framework in understanding these workplace experiences. I definitely feel like you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to be more open in order to understand experiences. It also explains how my personal struggles and the frustrations of the patients I interact with aren't isolated problems, but rather they reflect larger systemic issues such as the bureaucratic inefficiency and economic inequality. And yeah, guys, welcome back to part 2, in which I will be discussing the pros and cons. So there was a few that I've noticed. So within the pros is that the most obvious is that it helps us to connect personal and social issues. It allows us to see how individual struggles often reflect the bigger social problems in society. And it also encourages us to see the different power dynamics within the hierarchical structures between the elite classes and the working classes, and understanding how the working classes are often following the dominant ideologies, such as the things that are set up by the elite classes, known as to be right or wrong way of doings. And it also explains our stress. It allows us insight into status panic, rationalization, and alienation in professional settings. There was a few weaknesses that I've noticed, is that there was just a lack of overgeneralization, and then it emphasizes conflict too much. It focuses on inequality and power struggles, sometimes overlooking the positive social interactions. Basically meaning that Mills talks about alienation and how people often feel this way, but thing is, not everyone feels this way. I don't know if this is a good example, but for example, like, some people are happy to genuinely just be at their job. They're happy to act a certain way. Some people are just so thankful to have a job. So that's, in this case, my mom. She never complains about work. She's just happy to be there. But me, on the other hand, yeah, the money is great, but every time that I have to get up and get ready to go to work, I dread it so much. I hate it so much. In another life, I wish I didn't have a job. And then another weakness that I noticed is that it doesn't really allow for any steps for promoting reform changes in society. It kind of just talks about the problems without being like, hey, there are some things that we can do to fix it. So meanwhile, the theory has its flaws and its pros. It's still very useful because Mill's sociological imagination remains incredibly valuable to a lot of people, including myself. It promotes critical thinking and understanding workplace challenges. By understanding this perspective, it helps me to better manage my own status panic and alienation while pushing for more efficient systems in my workplace. It also allows me to see the different connections between my experiences and the social systems, rather than thinking that, oh, everything is so great and functional. That's not always the case. You can't just see society as perfect. It also allows me to push for awareness and in understanding and driving for changes in both professional and personal contexts. And it also allows me to understand the different types of root causes in society, so which I think is great. So yes, this is all for now, and yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I know it was quite long, so I'm glad you guys stayed and you guys didn't get bored. So yeah, thank you so much. Bye.